And hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix, and with me, my amazing co host,
Stephen Frederick is
Stephen the
here.
Medium, Stephen the Attorney, and most importantly, Stephen, my husband of 32 years. And today we have an awesome conversation, a conversation about friendships, what they give us, how to nurture them, and when to let them go. And Stephen, this is a subject that you came up with, so I'm really interested in engaging in this conversation. But before we do that, we need to engage in a conversation about what you are up to, what we've been up to, and what would you like to share with our listeners today?
Well, there's just so much here. Where do I select? Where do I pick, right? So this week has been a great week.
Yes.
So I had an event Wednesday night in Methuen, which is like an hour and a half without traffic. It's a distance, and for everybody to know what my amazing husband did, because
I was waiting,
hey,
waiting.
he didn't
Okay,
even give
go
me
ahead.
a chance.
Yes.
So he forgot that he had a training, and we were going together to Methuen, and he couldn't leave when I needed to leave, or I'd be late. So thought, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to drive myself. And he surprised me. You surprised me, and I'm talking like you're not here. You surprised me, and you got a driver for me to bring me there, and then you came up later to pick me up, which was wonderful. But the really cool thing is, besides what you just did, because you are really the greatest, I'm in the back seat, and I am probably about 35 minutes away from the event, and there is a guy sitting next to me in spirit, which again, I posted on social media this. It's not uncommon. As a matter of fact, it's more uncommon for me not to have anybody before I get to an event, because all your loved ones and your the dead people, they know I'm going to the event. And he was sitting next to me, and I knew I probably was going to start with him. And he just kept showing me flashes of September 11th with the attacks on New York and the World Trade Center and all of that. And when I got to the event and did my little spiel, then I started to start the performance, if you will. I brought that up and said, who here connects to September 11th, 9/11? There's a gentleman here who died, and he wants to connect with somebody. So at first, it was like crickets. Everyone's just staring at me, and no one's saying anything. And he's standing next to me. I'm like, clearly somebody knows. And the woman right in front of me, her name was Kristen. She was, when I tell you she was in the front row, she was sitting rather, right in front of me. And she looked at me and she raised her hand. And to make a long story short, it was a professor that she connected with in school. And she knows that he died on one of the planes in the attacks on September 11th. And she also went to the World Trade Center, to the memorial, and specifically to look him up, and found his picture. And he wanted to start this reading off, thanking her for doing that. And one thing she said to me was, she doesn't know why, but like periodically she just thinks of him. He just pops into her head. And she was just so thankful, and so was he so thankful that I got to share that message.
That is so amazing, Stephen, and I'm not surprised. And I'll be honest. Every time, we talk about 9/11 quite frequently, and it's a meaningful thing for me also, because I led a program at the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
And I was scheduled to be there. I would lead the program every 6 weeks, and I was scheduled to be there the Thursday, and Tuesday was 9/11, so it was very disruptive. And every time we go there, it gives me a lot of pause. And when you talk to me about him being the first one, it just brought me back to life back then at the World Trade Center. But anyways, in the group, when I got to the group, by the way, so Stephen didn't say, is that same day we got up at 4 a.m. in the morning. I had to be in Boston because I I get an infusion treatment to treat a very rare condition called Wegener's. And so I was due 6 a.m. I was first in chair. We did that. We came home. I was exhausted, but I had to lead that training. But I want to just give kudos to Jamie because he is the car service that we use quite frequently. And the fact that I was able to call him very last minute scrambling, and he's like, no worries, we will get somebody to pick up Stephen, and our friend Bob, who we know, came to get you. So that's pretty awesome, Stephen.
It was awesome.
Any other special messages that came out of that event, Stephen?
No, I mean they were all. I mean they were just all pretty spectacular. But at one point, one of a guy that works in this building came in, and he was definitely the caterer or worked in the kitchen, because he came in and was like looking to make sure, is there anything else that's necessary, because they put like this spread, which was a really nice spread for the people there, and he was just looking, and I was reading somebody, as a matter of fact I was reading a guy, and all of a sudden this young guy just taps me on the shoulder and said, I'm connected to him. And I looked, I'm like, and it's kind of weird because I'm simultaneously having the same conversation I am with spirit as I am with people. I don't know how I can do that. It makes no sense, but I just can. And I'm sure, most mediums can do that. So I stopped and said, I have to put you on hold for a minute, the guy I was reading in the audience, and then turned, and I'm like, hi. And he like looks up, and everyone turns around and looks at him, and his face was just like, hi. It was really funny. And I said, what is your name? And he said, Jesus, Jesus. I'm like, Jesus. I'm like, there's a guy here. I said, a young guy. I said, did you lose a brother or a cousin? And his face just was like, you should have seen his expression. He said, my brother. And then his brother just went on and gave a validation. And like one of the first things is the brother said he wants to give a shout out to Anna. Who's Anna? He was like, my sister, or his sister, or our sister. It was pretty cool. Yeah, he was, and then the coolest thing is Elixir at the end of that event, when I was done, he was doing everything he could for me. Like, because he wasn't even supposed to be part of that. He just walked in and saying, Stephen, you have a drive, so take whatever you want. Take whatever you want. I'm like, well, yeah, maybe I'll take some cookies. He like jets out of the room and comes back with like a styrofoam container and says, here, want me to fill it up? Or here, you fill it up. So it was really nice. It was fun. It was such a good group of people, great readings, and it was good. It was good. And it was good that you got to come at later on, and we got to go home together.
Yes, I wouldn't have it any other way. So, and Stephen Dean, the other thing that I wanted to do a shout out to our friends Jonathan and Christmas, because last Friday we went to Provincetown, and we had a spectacular time. Was it the Holly Gaze Christmas concert?
No, it was Saturday.
Oh, Saturday. Excuse me, Saturday.
Yeah.
That's right. And it was a spectacular time. And you did all the planning for that.
We always have a spectacular time with those two. They are just not only just great people and just like best friends, but every time we get together with them, no matter where it is, we just have a good time. And the dinner was incredible in Holligays, the Boston Gay Men's Choir, which none of us had ever seen. We got to see that in Provincetown and Town Hall. So it was spectacular. It was a really, really good evening.
And the people at Sierra and Sales, went above and beyond, and we were so taken care of. That place is amazing, Stephen.
We were busy too, because that was Saturday. Then Sunday I had another event in Dartmouth, which was a really cool event also. So
you're super busy, Stephen.
I think we're both busy.
That's right.
Yeah, we're both busy.
But you do have, make sure you do have a promotion happening. So if people are listening to you, Stephen the Medium, what's your promotion?
I always do this for the holidays. So I have a special gift card that you pay 150 and it is valued at 200. And I can't tell you like how many of these I sell because people just love whether it's for them or sending it as a holiday or Christmas gift to anybody. It's a really good gift. And it's just, the great thing is it's an email, right? And you can send it or you can print it and you can give it as a gift. And it's just a little code. And then whoever the gift is for, or if it's for you, you just look on my calendar, and when you go to book something, you just put the code in, and it's worth $200. So,
And what better present than the gift of having somebody get to speak to their loved ones in spirit. Once
and it goes to usually I do right up till New Year's Day, and then I pull that until the next holiday.
So it's a limited time only promotion.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Anything else, Stephen? I mean, I know we are. I'm excited about our upcoming trip to Puerto Rico, and I say upcoming, and it's not until January. But Can you tell? I'm like super anxious to get there.
Well, wait a minute. It's less than a month. I mean,
I
so
know.
it's really close. And what about New York?
I know
Tomorrow.
we are headed to New York again. This time we're gonna spend time with your family and most importantly, Steven's best friends, the Roquettes.
Yeah, the Kickers.
The Kickers. He knows them. They know him, and I kid you not, people. We have the same seats every year, and it's front row center, and we will be there again.
And I'm sure people are like listening that maybe don't know me or know us and saying, wait a minute, did he just say every year? So
Every
yes,
year.
every year we are at the Rockettes Christmas show in the same seats. So as a VIP, I purchased these tickets like in July. So to make sure we're in the right spot, the right seat, and all the girls I know. Even though it may be in my head, when they come up front, they're all waving and looking at me and saying hi.
I'm sure they are. I know they know you.
And it's the 100th year anniversary this year. 100. They started in 1925, so 100 years, which is pretty amazing.
I listen. I know that every year, it's every year that I go. But I will say I also enjoy it, and I'm excited to go back and listen to the tunes that I probably already know by heart. And the dances that I already know by heart. But nevertheless, you know what else I know by heart, Stephen? We do need to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we are going to dive into a topic that touches every single one of us: friendships. So let's take a break, and we'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Helix. I'm your host, Coach Helix, and with me, my amazing co host,
Stephen the Medium.
Stephen the Medium, who is also my extraordinary husband of 32 years, going into 33 this April.
Yes.
And today we're talking about friendship, and we often think of friendships as something that we naturally fall into. But the truth is that friendships are some of the most meaningful, sometimes most defining relationships in our lives, and sometimes they can be the most complicated as well. And friends are the people that, often witness us, challenge us, celebrate us, sit with us through heartbreak, lift us when we forget who we are, and remind us that we are or we can be great, our own greatness. And Stephen, this is a subject that you came up with, so I'm really curious as to, why is this subject meaningful for you? I know why it's meaningful for me, and I believe it's going to be meaningful for every listener, because we all have friendships, and and I think there are friendships that we know we need to nurture, but there are times where there are friendships that we need to learn to let go. So, why is this topic so meaningful for you?
I mean, I think it's one of the most important parts of this journey when we come here, and when we're walking our journey on this physical plane. It's what's the most important is the people around us, the people that come into our life, leave our lives, stay in our lives. It is that bonding experience is so important, and and there's so many emotions, as you just mentioned, Elix, attached to friendships of people around. Again, how many, every single one of us has probably heard somebody say that, I know I see it all the time in readings. Someone will bring something up about somebody. I'll just say, who's Kathy? This just happened a couple of weeks ago. And the woman I was reading, that was my best friend that just decided to stop speaking to me. And if Spirit's bringing that up, that means that they know the impact of what that means for, in this particular case, it was the father bringing it up, for his daughter, right? And just how emotional and just how connected, when you have a really good friend, you are with them. And then when the rug is pulled from under your legs or feet, and it's done, or you have to make the decision because it's just not, it's not benefiting you, if someone around you. There's a lot that goes into it, but I think if anyone ever goes on YouTube or on social media and you look at videos that say the caption will be, I flew my daughter's best friend in, and she hasn't seen her in like 2 years or a year. And when you see them seeing each other, I mean, you can't help but get goosebumps and shivers and just that those emotions of like wrapping your arms around the person and loving them. And it's a lot. It's a lot.
I would agree with that. And Stephen, when you think of friendship and when you think about that experience, right, meeting somebody that gives you those goosebumps, what qualities do you feel are really important to feel truly seen in a friendship?
What qualities?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I've never really thought about what qualities. I'm sure clearly they're there if you have friends that you've been friends with for a long time. But I think that the first thing that stands out is just knowing you've got true love, going to that person and coming back from that person, and that they will just be there for you no matter what happens. Just always having your back, I guess.
Like that unconditional love, or I mean, love, I guess. Now, for me, and this is something that that you and I have talked about, because we have experienced all kinds of friendships. But for me, Stephen, what I what I think it's most important for me is somebody who makes me feel I'm important, who is interested in me just as much as I'm interested in them. So somebody who really cares about asking me, how's your day going? How are you doing? Because we've experienced people in our lives where when we get together, they make it all about them, and the conversation becomes all about their lives. And often we're left sitting there thinking, well, what about me? Are you going to ask me how am I doing? How's my life going? So that for me is like an important quality. And I can tell very early on, especially if you meet new people and engage in new friendships, I can tell very early on whether that is going to be something that is going to be present or not. What about you?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, you pick up things like, I know it's weird to say as a medium, but you pick up things quicker than me when it comes to like people around you and energy. But you know what? I didn't know you were coming with that question. So when I really think about listening to your answer and thinking about like what is important to me in a friend, I think like one of the most one if the most important thing is the why. Like over the past several years, I will ask myself periodically when someone's in my life, if they've been there for a long time or they're new, why is this person here? And ultimately, I love when the answer, and that's why I'm asking the why, is what are they giving me? Like what are they even unintentionally giving me for me to learn more about myself? And I think that's so key when you're connected with somebody, is that you get to look at them and see how they act. And many times they act as a mirror so that you can actually see any of your sort of deficiencies or things you want to change, or the great things about you, any of that. And that is also so important. When you get that and find that, I think that's when you have people in your life for a long time.
I think that's wonderful, Stephen. And I agree with you. And let me ask you a piggyback question given that answer. So, who is somebody whose friendship has changed you for the better or for the worst? And have you ever told them?
Well, I mean, I start with David. David
Yes.
was my best friend, even though he's passed away, and we grew up across the street from each other, and I was a couple of years older than him. And my first experience or memory of him was that he's got 5 siblings. Is that I went into his yard and the gate was locked so the kids wouldn't get out, and the older kids were not in the yard, but David was there with his 2 sisters. And I remember I just wanted to play with David, so I was taller, so I like reached and climbed like a monkey and undid the thing and opened the gate, and was causing trouble even back then. But that's the first memory, and we had these just this incredible period of life. And did I ever tell him? Probably not directly, and I think I told him in ways of just being there for him as he did for me. And then unfortunately in 97 he took his life. And so that was and it still is a very difficult thing for me to even to talk about. But it wasn't really necessarily about me sitting down at some point and saying to him, I want to tell you what I think of you or what you give me. Or it was just the actions that the two of us just not only bonded because we were across the street from each other, but then we both came out to each other, me telling David I'm gay, him telling me he's gay. And that just brought us to an entirely different level of connection and just being there, for each other. And one of the things I say all the time is the best thing about that was that David got to meet you, and you got to meet David, and David stayed over with us, and and I know you fell in love with him too. So
Of course.
yeah.
I how could I ever forget David? Um, for me, Stephen, I have a similar story because You didn't get to meet this friend, but Witchy, who was a childhood friend of mine, and he was someone that it was for me like the definition of unconditional love in friendship. And Witchy died or was diagnosed with AIDS during the AIDS epidemic, and I lost many friends to AIDS. And I remember Stephen. I had already come to Boston to go to school, and I was in Puerto Rico visiting during the holidays, as I often did while I was here in school. And he made a point to come see me. He wanted to see me. I did not know he was sick, and he did not tell me he was sick. And and I put these together after the fact, of course, but he came to see me. He just wanted to give me a hug, and he just wanted to say goodbye. And that was the very last time I saw Witchy alive. I learned later that he had passed, and of course, I learned that he had passed from AIDS because I did not know at the time. And why, you know, that his friendship, again, I experienced unconditional love as a friend from him. But for me, that experience taught me the power of selflessness, Stephen. The fact that he just came to see me and his love for me was greater than anything else. His need to say anything. He did not, that last time together, he did not make it about himself, and he could have. And I would have been so okay with that. I would have given him all the grace in the world. And I would have loved to have had that conversation with him, but he didn't. He made it about me and about us as friends. And that is something I'll never forget. And I did not have an opportunity to tell him how meaningful he was directly, but I think we express that love for each other all the time. But that's, when I think about friendships who have changed me, that is absolutely one that I will never ever forget.
I love that. I love that. And I think that's a key thing here, Elix, is that you don't have to necessarily sit someone down and tell them. I mean, it's wonderful if you get to do that, but I think actions are just so much bigger sometimes than words, right? And they just really reflect how you feel about the person, and how that person feels about you too.
Yes, yes. And right now, I feel like we are about to take our second break. So let's do that, Stephen. Let's take a small commercial break. And when we come back, we'll continue with the conversation. We'll be right back. And hello, everyone. Welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Helix. I'm your host, Coach Helix, and with me, my amazing co-host,
Attorney Masick.
and Stephen the Medium also is in the house. And today we are exploring how to nurture friendships, how to value them, heal them, and even lovingly release them when they no longer served who we are becoming. And so, with that in mind, Stephen, I do have another question. What role have a friendships or a friendship have played in shaping the person that you are today?
Oh my God, there's so many roles of people that have come into my life. I have a best friend, Paul, who we met in freshman year of high school. That we pretty much talk every day, either phone or via text. And I mean, the list goes on of what I've learned from him because he's so incredibly different than me personality wise. Like we met in high school, and he was the most quiet kid in high school, and I was the one that was constantly in trouble. Like it was like I don't know how we even came to become friends, even at the beginning because of that. But it's interesting when I think about it because what I had and the way I acted is something he didn't have, and he learned, and vice versa. So that's a loaded question. There's a lot. I think in some aspects, Paul, watching him and seeing him deal with he has his own business, and the way he is I'm not laid back, but there's many times he's so different in the sense that if something happens with him that like if he's telling me the experience and I'm listening, I would be waiting because of thinking like how I would react. I would be waiting for him after he's telling the story that like what did you say to this blah 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 this person, and that doesn't ever happen. And I think even something as different as we are and small, that's sort of like a small thing, looking and sort of seeing maybe there are times that you don't necessarily have to, to be the loudest one in the room to get your point across. Maybe there's times that you just have to be so secure with yourself that you don't need to say something or to sort of, feed the fire, if you will. So there's many levels.
I agree, Stephen. Now, me on the other hand, I do envy you because I see the relationship that you have with Paul, but I also see other relationships that you have and friends that, while may not be equally the same as what you have with Paul, because I called you two like two girlfriends. I mean, you speak for hours on the phone about, nonsense.
Really?
And then after you hang up, you remember, oh my God, we forgot this part. I'm like, how? You just spoke for like 3 hours. But and personally for me, Stephen, I don't have that. Like my closest friends, the people that for me, as I was growing up, childhood friends, they're all, the two of them died from AIDS. One of them died from ALS. A few years back. So I don't have that. The closest to a best friend I have, it's you. And of course our relationship it goes way deeper than that. But that is when I think of that of a friendship that has shaped the person who I am today, I would say you are the closest to that. You're the one that I could probably talk about the most because it's the closest that resembles that definition for me. I don't know if there's anything you want to add about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because when you said we're talking about friends, clearly because in my mind the category of friends Paul is a best friend a long time, freshman year of high school, but I mean I jumped over you because as much as you are way more than just a best friend in this relationship, I guess I was just looking at the category of friendships. So, and
No, no,
with
I know, you are right. I mean, you're looking at the category in the right way. I'm just, as I'm listening to you, and you define the connection that you have with Paul, and other people, because Susan is somebody that's been in your life for a long time. So, we could, talk about her. All I'm saying is that I don't feel I have friends, don't get me wrong, and I have people that, I love and appreciate in my life, in their friendship, but they're very limited, by the way. I don't feel, I'm not one of those people who would say everyone is my friend. I know a lot of people, have a lot of, what is the other word besides friends?
acquaintances.
Acquaintances, yes, and but a friendship for me is somebody that, that if you need something, you can just pick up the phone, call them, and they're gonna be there for you. I know you have that. I don't necessarily feel I have that. I mean, I know Jonathan is listening, so he's probably having a physical reaction listening to me, and I love and appreciate Jonathan. And he's a newer friend, so we're developing our connection. But again, I think you are the closest one. But having said that, Stephen, I do have another question for you. Is what advice would you give our listeners in regards to nurturing and valuing the people in their life that they would put in the category as friends, so that they can make that relationship thrive? What would you say? And I ask you, Stephen, because you do bring such a unique perspective, from Spirit, and I think that perspective is so, so valuable for all of us to hear.
I mean, I think my advice would start with the definition of friendship. And just because somebody's in your life doesn't necessarily mean that in my definition of friendship that they're a friend, because there could be people, and I'm sure there are in many aspects with all of us, that we have people around us that are, if you look at the actual definition, if you will, of friendship of, and I'm just talking about what we've already sort of talked about at the beginning of the show about, what do we think about friendship, and what does that detail and whatnot, or entail rather. I think that you have to start there and say, is this person actually a friend? Is this person giving me something, and also that I'm giving them? Or what's the balance? Am I always giving 100% and they're giving, barely anything? You also talked about a couple of minutes ago, Elix, about people that don't they interact with you and it's never asking how you doing, how are you. It's all about them. So I think that you have to start there, and then it makes it sort of easier to focus on the actual friends, the people that are in your life, because you value them, and then you can sort of focus on that. But I think you have to start at the bigger level, if you will, and or the broader level, and just look, who are these people? Are they actually friends? And just go from there. And before I hand it back over to you, I'll tell you, one of the things, and you brought up John and Christmas, or Krista, one of the things that I know that is the most difficult thing is finding new friends as adults, right?
Yes.
It is not easy for anybody to do that. And you can find people and sort of start building a relationship, but it's usually something that's very slow, and you don't have a particular connection. I know, and I can't even tell you how grateful I am that when you and John became like besties from the gym, and just bonded, and that sort of branched out to me and Krista, this has been I think as an adult, the best relationship that I think I've ever had with these two people.
It's been a gift. It's a gift.
It
It's
is
a
a gift
gift
for both of them,
for both and
and
for us as well.
I've already learned, something that we've never talked about. I've already learned so much from both of them that benefits me, that makes me look internally. And they do show the mirror on me for me to see what how I'm acting, which I love, which I definitely love.
And I second that. So, John, if you're listening there, make sure you write a note, take a note, take notes. Um, as we prepare for our last segment, Stephen, I do want to talk about how do we let go? How do we heal and grow from those friendships that we feel are no longer serving us? But in order to get to that point, we also, just like you said, we have to identify which are those friendships that are no longer serving us, and why is it that we feel that they're no longer serving us. And I think for me, I'm pretty clear. I'm pretty clear in knowing that somebody's just not serving me. You've helped me come a long way, and I think for you as well. So let's do this. Let's take a commercial break, and then when we come back, we are going to dive into letting go and healing from those friendships that no longer serve you. We'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Helix. I am your host, Coach Helix, and with me, my amazing co host,
Stephen the medium.
who is also my amazing husband. And today we're talking about friendships. Friendships, how they stretch, they shift, they deepen, but sometimes they also fade. And we want to talk about, Stephen, how do we know that it's time to let go? How do we heal and grow when those friendships no longer serve us? And for me personally, I can tell you, When I feel taken advantage of, that's a sign that a friendship is not serving me. Or, I mislabel somebody a friend. When I feel not valued or respected, that's that's a sign that I am definitely mislabel somebody a friend. When somebody doesn't ask about me, or they don't express interest in knowing how I'm doing, that signals me maybe it is a friendship that has faded, a friendship that it's time to let go. And the other thing, Stephen, you and I have spoken many times about this. Sometimes we evolved. Sometimes we were close to people years ago, and then we lost connection. And then by the time you come back, that connection is no longer the same. And that's okay. That is okay. And, I've experienced that. You've experienced that. And I'm sure everyone listening has experienced that. I've talked about high school teammates of mine. There's many of them have these groups. They talk, they connect, they like to get together. They go on vacation together, and they've asked me if I want to join, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I have no interest. I don't. It's not that I don't appreciate, or appreciated that connection at the time, but I'm not. I'm no longer in that same space. My life has evolved, and I don't. I hope, Stephen, this doesn't sound like I'm just being arrogant, because it's not coming from that place. It's coming from a place of just really honoring my own growth and honoring who I am, and knowing that I'm no longer in that same space. So staying connected doesn't serve me or them, for that matter. What are your thoughts, Stephen?
I agree. I think that I know from what I do as a medium and speaking to dead people, that I hear all the time, every single person that crosses our path and comes into our life, there is a reason for it. And I think a lot of times even when we do make that difficult decision, but the right decision to maybe end a relationship with someone that may have been around you for a long time, but in your perspective, it may be a very toxic relationship, and you pull the plug on that person, if you will. I think what's lost many times is the person even doing that, and rightfully so, just making sure that they stay healthy, and they want people around that are benefiting them and that they love, and what have you. But I think it's just what's lost is knowing that when this person came in, and when they, depending on how long they were there was a reason, and that reason shouldn't be missed. The reason, it goes back to what I said earlier, is looking at everybody with a why. Why did you come in? Like, if you started off a certain way and then changed, like, why did I take so long in removing you? Or were you always that person, and it was just because of where I was, I didn't see it, and because I evolved or have evolved, now I'm seeing that this person is not the person I thought. But so every single person that comes into your life, there is a absolute reason for them to be there. And why people come into your life it's really dictated by you. Internally, wherever you are is where you're going to attract and pull people in. There's 100%, that's what I believe. And that's what Spirit tells me all the time. So if you're someone who is just a very pessimistic, negative person, for the most part, that's the people you're going to pull in, and you're going to stay in that corral, if you will. You're going to live in that land, and you're going to always be the person saying, nothing ever works out for me. I'm never happy. If I get some happiness, it's always taken by something else, happens that takes the happiness away. And the people that evolve and are curious and want to keep knowing why are they here are the people that get out of that corral. And I think that's what you talked about with your high school friends, Elix, is that, there's people that stay in one place, and people that sort of open the gate and walk out and start discovering so many different things that they can come to visit quickly, but they can't live there anymore because they're completely different people. And when you're in that place, I love that place because you're also not only weeding out the people that are not supposed to be in this journey, going forward, but you're also pulling in the people that are supposed to be there, which you're doing it right.
Yeah, listening to you, I'm remembering a quote by Robin Sharma, who is an international life coach, and he created a framework. It's called the 6 Rules of Learned Bravery, and one of the rules, I believe, is rule number 6, is create a circle of courage. And what he argues is that you can never rise higher than your closest associations. So really be very intentional about the people around you and make sure that the people around you are aligned with who it is that you say you are and where it is that you see yourself going, because otherwise they're going to put the lid on what's possible for you. So I'm always so self-aware of my inner circle and making sure that my circle of courage is a group of individuals that support me and support what I'm up to, and what I'm most committed to. The other thing, Stephen, and this may also hit something for you, is I'm paying attention to people that I thought were friends, then we connect, and they're always asking for my help for something. And it's not that I don't mind that, but it becomes one-sided. Elex, what's your advice about this? Elex, what would I do about this? Elex, show me the way, because they know I'm an executive coach and that's what I do. And of course, my life is all about giving it away and helping people. But at some point, it becomes a missing for me when they're not interested in checking in with me. Elex, how are you doing? What can I do to support you? And that becomes a deal breaker for me. And I know that has been something that has been, you've been dealing with as well, Stephen.
Yeah, I think, I don't know when this was. I got an email from someone I went to law school with, who I was very close to in law school, and then it just ended. There was really no relationship. It just ended, and despite me trying to reach out a couple of times, it just never went anywhere. And I showed you the email. She just emailed me. Hi, Stephen. I didn't know you were a medium. My dad just died, and can we talk? And I responded with, hi, I'm very sorry about your dad. I said, but you may want to start with, how am I? What's been going on with me? And not just all about you. And my advice would be, find another medium. I'm like, it's just not happening. Listen, I get it's business. I'm sorry that you lost your dad, but that's not the first time, too. I get, a text, I don't know, several months ago asking me something. And I responded saying, you may want to say hi first, or how
Yes.
are you? Like,
Yes.
And it doesn't put me in a place of wanting to help. Now, I understand that sometimes people in their heads, they think that's part of what they're saying, and they're like very riled up about something, and you have to give grace to it, right? Because people are people, and when I talk to Paul sometimes in the morning, he'll call with an issue at work, and the whole conversation will be just about work, and I'm fine with that, right? That's with the give and take of your friendships and people around. Sometimes you just need to listen, but I think you have to look at the bigger picture, like the law school person. Where have you been all these years? And you don't even give me, like, how are you? Yeah, that's not happening. So
Yeah, that becomes a deal breaker. And I think ultimately, if you're listening and you relate to this conversation, my biggest advice is to just listen to your heart. Your heart always tells you what you need to do. And they, you know, our heart sends us lots of messages. And those messages, as you've said many times, Stephen, they're driven by spirit, our loved ones. We just have to pay attention. We have to listen and be willing to take action even when it feels uncomfortable. But as we get to the top of the hour, Stephen, let's. I just want to make sure that we have an opportunity for you to tell people where to find you and anything else they need to know about you before we close the show.
Stephen the Medium, under my website, under social media. That's where you can find everything that's going on in my world.
In particular, that
Come join my
special
world.
holiday offer that you put out for a limited time only. So as we close today's conversation, I just want to remind you that friendships are living things. They grow when we feed them. They drift when we neglect them. And they sometimes end when their purpose has been fulfilled. So the friendships that remain teach us loyalty. They teach us trust and intimacy. The friendships that end teach us boundaries, self-worth. And the friendships that have not yet come to us remind us that life is still full of possibilities. So with that in mind, I invite you to honor friends, nurture friends, and be willing to let go of those friendships that no longer serve you. And if you want to join the conversation, please find me at coachelex.com, anywhere on social media. Other than that, Stephen, I think this is the end. And have a wonderful weekend, everyone. And thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jim, our GM at the station, WARA 1320 AM radio, for stepping in today and running and producing the show for both Stephen and me. Anything else, Stephen, before we close?
Nope. Everybody have a great, great weekend.
Have an awesome weekend, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.